Now Rainbow High in the tender trap with 8-1 bar. That brings in Cover Up. They've clipped Fantasy Hill, runner-up 2 years ago to Bangalore, into 8-1 from 9-1, and it's also 8-1 against Darasim. You can then get 12-1 bar. Brother Joe's a 12-1 chance, along with Prairie Falcon. It's 14-1. High and Mighty at 14-1, along with Distant Prospect. A 16-1 bar with 20-1 Palua.
The stalls, Court Sharif dwells. Palua are a bit slow as well as they run in front of the stands, and it's Darasim who's the first to go on with Alberich. Rainbow High in a very prominent position in the early stages, can be a strong puller, and he's getting the toe on with Richard Hughes up on the outside of Darasim. Alberich is back in third, and then Fantasy Hill, Bay of Islands is up the inside in a striped jacket, followed by Prairie Falcon. Riyadh is next from High and Mighty, then from Brother Joe and Distant Prospect and Royal Rebel on the outside. In Peter Savile's maroon and light blue jacket, just got a bump from Distant Prospect. Then Archduke Ferdinand, followed by Viridian Guard Duty, tender trap towards the rear with Palua. Also Cover Up and the slow starter Court Sharif. At this stage, Richard Hughes has finally got a bit of a hook onto Rainbow High. Back into fourth place now as Alberich and Darasim duel for the lead as they run into the back straight. These two have a 3-length lead over Fantasy Hill in third, then Prairie Falcon and Rainbow High. Next in the pack is Bay of Islands from High and Mighty, and then Riyadh, followed by Brother Joe and Royal Rebel, and Archduke Ferdinand, Distant Prospect, and then right out the back, the last half dozen, Viridian, Tender Trap, Guard Duty, Cover Up, Palua, and finally Court Sharif. On this first circuit then, and a good even pace it looks to be, with Alberich now in front in the hands of Fran Ferris from Darasim getting a lead. Darasim, who's up in distance today in the blue and white spotted jacket. Fantasy Hill in that red and yellow coloured silks in third place from Prairie Falcon in the light blue. Rainbow High in fifth place now in the pink cap, followed by Bay of Island in the striped colours. In dark blue and red on the inside, lying about seventh, is High and Mighty, and then Royal Rebel out wide, and they've completed a circuit as they turn left-handed once again back towards the winning post, over a circuit to go. Brother Joe is still midfield with Riyadh and Distant Prospect. Tender Trap is held up, but got plenty of daylight on the outside of runners. And then back in the rear, Cover Up, Viridian, Guard Duty, Palua, and Court Sharif. Alberich will lead them, and about 15 lengths would cover them, and it's Alberich by a half length to Darasim. Fantasy Hill is third, and fourth is Prairie Falcon. Rainbow High, I would think Richard Hughes is very happy with his position at the moment, in fifth on the inside of Bay of Islands. Then High and Mighty from Riyadh, and then Brother Joe from Royal Rebel, who's still bedded in the midfield as Tender Trap makes a bit of headway now as they head towards the final 6.5 furlongs. Tender Trap moves up on the outside to go into about 9th position. Archduke Ferdinand on the inside, then from Distant Prospect. Cover Up still amongst the rear division, along with Viridian. Palua moving forward a bit with Court Sharif, and Guard Duty is now last of all. They're down the back straight. They've got 5 furlongs to cover then in the Tote Chester Cup, and it's Alberich from Darasim 1 and 2. Fantasy Hill, Prairie Falcon is pushed along. Rainbow High still going well. Richard Hughes steals a half glance to see where the others are. He may have to come round the leaders if the gaps don't appear. Bay of Islands is not far away as well. And then on the outside of these, Riyadh with a fast forward move, and Tender Trap is beginning to reel them back as well in a maroon and yellow jacket from High and Mighty. They've got less than 3 furlongs left to gallop, and Darasim strikes the front from Alberich and Fantasy Hill. Riyadh and Bay of Islands. Rainbow High is still coasting on the inside. Will Richard Hughes be able to find a way through? Can he pick his way through the bunch? They run down the straight. Darasim, Fantasy Hill swooping on the outside. Alberich on the inside. Rainbow High trying to get out. Riyadh in the orange jacket. It's Fantasy Hill with first run inside the final furlong now. Fantasy Hill chased by Rainbow High. Riyadh, High and Mighty on the outside. Fantasy Hill by 2 lengths. Can Rainbow High haul him back? He can't today. Fantasy Hill too strong and wins the Chester Cup from Rainbow High. An honourable effort there in his attempt to win 3 Chester Cups. In third it was close between High and Mighty and Riyadh, followed home by Alberich and Brother Joe, then Guard Duty and Darasim, and then back behind these Royal Rebel, who never really got going. Followed them by Prairie Falcon, Viridian, Archduke Ferdinand, Bay of Islands, Tender Trap, Weakened, Distant Prospect, Court Sharif, and Cover Up, who was always in the rear, along with Palua. Fantasy Hill here. Pat Eddery, who won this race back in 1989 on Grey Salute, has won it again in the colours of Windflower Overseas Holdings Inc., trained by John Dunlop at Arundel. Veteran partnership coming good here in this old race. Fantasy Hill, always well placed under the 11 times champion jockey. Struck early in the straight. Richard Hughes had a dream run really on Rainbow High. He was in a good position. He managed to get out in time. He had every chance, but the horse with 9 stone 13, the weight he carried to victory last year, was just anchoring him, and he was never able to reel back this leader. Fantasy Hill gallops on too strongly then for his 17 rivals to win the Tote Chester Cup.
Fantasy Hill, placed behind Bangalore 2 years ago, returned the 8-1 co-third favourite of 3. 8-1 was the price against Fantasy Hill. It was a 16-1 chance with Coral when betting opened on the Tote Chester